Topical collections for both various types of wildlife, plants and animals, are a popular topical collection. One of the collections that I love to do every year, it's kind of an annual event for me, is the United Nations Endangered Species collection. Well, back on April 7th of 2021, the United Nations Postal Administration issued its 2021 Endangered Species stamps featuring species of fauna and flora that were endemic to a certain environment or a region. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora is an international agreement between governments of the world. Currently having 183 state parties, the convention aims to ensure that the international trade of specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. For over 25 years, the United Nations Postal Administration has issued stamps to celebrate the many beautiful and varied forms of wild fauna and flora worldwide, with the intent to raise awareness about the multiple benefits of conservation. Now, you can purchase these stamps from the UN Stamp Store, and they have a wide variety of formats that you can purchase. I tend to always get the booklet here. This is a gorgeous booklet that they produce every year. It has full color photographs of all of the plants and animals that are part of the collection for that current year. The other thing that I find fascinating about this book, or why I like the beauty of this book so much, is that in the upper corner there is a stamp mount, and you can purchase the stamps, are purchased separately from the booklet, and the individual stamps can then be put into the stamp mount right on the page that comes with the booklet. On each page for each species, it also has 3 paragraphs of information, and they're in 3 different languages. The languages of the United Nations, of course, in English and German and in French. And you can also buy things like first day covers depicting the stamps, the 12 stamps that have these plants and animals. You can get individual stamps, you can get a full sheet, you can get blocks of 4, this type of thing. So it's a great collection that you can have. It displays very well. And I also have currently on order the 2022 set of endangered species. And once that comes to my residence, maybe in the future video, I'll also do the 2022 endangered species group. Now let's take a look at the individual stamps and the plants and animals that are part of this collection. For the 2021 collection, I bought the presentation booklet that I just showed, and I also bought blocks of 4 for the stamps themselves, as well as a set of the individual stamps that I put inside the booklet. The blocks of 4 are all denominated with different values, and again, this is part of because the UN offices, there are 3 UN offices, so there are 3 values for the offices in New York, Vienna, and Geneva. Let's take a look at the first set of 4. In this block, you can see that there are 4 species depicted. In the upper left is the Waigeo couscous, and we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of each of these in a second here. The top right is a bird called the helmeted honey eater. Then in the second row on the left is the Venus flytrap, a plant that's recognizable to probably quite a few people. And then the last one is the American alligator. And I think some people might be surprised that this animal is on the endangered species list. But let's take a little bit closer look at some of the information about each of these animals and plants. The first one, this Waigeo couscous, I'm not quite sure in the pronunciation there, that's a species of marsupial that's endemic to a particular island, and that's how the animal gets its name. The island is the island of Waigeo in Indonesia. It's part of a family of marsupials that are colorful, medium-sized animals. They're tree-dwelling. They eat fruit and leaves, and they're only found, the whole family of similar species are only found in the tropical forests in the Australian Papua region of the world. This particular marsupial member of the family is listed as vulnerable in the International Union for the Conservation of Nature's Red List of Threatened Species. The reason for that is because it only occurs on a single island, so it's considered a single locality in terms of its susceptibility to potential threats. And its main threats are increased hunting pressure and large-scale deforestation. It's not a very serious problem at the moment, but it could easily become so. The species is also hunted for food by the local population. And if the hunting were to increase markedly, or if deforestation operations were to increase, then the state of this particular species could deteriorate quite rapidly. The bird, the next species there, the helmeted honeyeater, is a subspecies of a common yellow-tufted honeyeater. The yellow-tufted is a bird found in Australia, and the helmeted honeyeater is endemic to the south-central area in Australia in the state of Victoria. Now, it's the largest and most brightly colored of the subspecies of honeyeaters. It's about 17 to 23 centimeters long, weighs about 28 to 32 grams. And you can see by the photo, it's quite a colorful bird. The species is very active, very conspicuous. Apparently, it's quite noisy. It is a forager, and it forages mainly on eucalyptus leaves, but also various arthropods, spiders and beetles and insects and millipedes, things like that. It also eats nectar and honeydew. The population of the helmeted honeyeater has declined throughout the 20th century, and 2 of the last remaining colonies were destroyed by fire in 1983. In 2018, the researchers did the last formal count of this bird, and they could only find 230 specimens that were left in the wild. The plant that's shown next is, of course, the Venus flytrap. That's a terrestrial perennial plant. It's endemic to subtropical wetlands in the southeast coast of the United States, especially in North Carolina and South Carolina. It's a rare and localized species, and by far the most well-known of all the carnivorous plants. It is carnivorous, so it has stems that can be 20 to 30 centimeters tall, and the leaves have blades that are hinged along the midline so that 2 circular lobes with spiny teeth along the margins can fold together and enclose an insect that happens to alight on the plant. The action is triggered by 6 sensitive hairs, 3 on each lobe. It does eat numerous insects, both terrestrial and flying insects, also spiders, mollusks, and even small amphibians that might get into the plant. The Venus flytrap is listed as vulnerable by the Union of Conservation for Nature. It faces threats stemming from geographical isolation, habitat loss, alteration by humans who unfortunately dig up the plants and collect the plants, which is illegal. There is illegal poaching that goes on with the Venus flytrap plant. The last one in this particular set of 4 is the American alligator. It's a large reptile native to the southeastern United States with a small population in Mexico. Now, alligators usually inhabit wetlands, including freshwater, slow-moving rivers, swamps, marshes, and lakes. The term alligator itself is thought to be derived from a corruption of the Spanish el lagarto, meaning lizard. Studies on alligator social behavior have indicated a remarkable degree of complexity in their ability to communicate vocally through the bellows and head slaps on water, and visually through a complex series of body postures. Adult male alligators will rarely exceed about 4.5 meters in length, adult females up to about 3 meters, and they can weigh as much as 450 kilograms. Alligators in the wild can live about 50 years. They are carnivorous, of course, and usually eat fish, snails, other invertebrates, including birds, frogs, and mammals that come to the edge of the water to drink. The main threats to the alligators are, like most species, habitat degradation due to expanding residential and agricultural development, nutrient and chemical pollution, saltwater intrusion and flooding, and water diversion. In the next series of 4, the first one, the upper left, is the golden-headed lion tamarin. The one in the upper right is the greater bilby. The second row on the left is the ring-tailed lemur. And the final one is another plant, the grand spider orchid. And now let's take a look at each of those in a little bit more detail. The golden-headed lion tamarin is a New World monkey endemic to Brazil. It's only found in the lowland of the tropical forest fragments in the state of Bahia. They're small primates. They measure only between 25 and 34 centimeters and can weigh up to about 800 grams. The hairs on the face are light brown, and the rest of the body is predominantly a darker coat, a black coat. Lion tamarins eat mostly ripe fruits, flowers, nectar, animal prey, sometimes including frogs, snails, small lizards, spiders, and various insects. They live in extended family groups with a maximum of about 15 individuals, and the average group size is about 4 to 8 individuals, depending upon the forest environment that they happen to be in. They are listed as endangered, mainly because the population has been drastically reduced as a result of the unprecedented rate of deforestation of the Amazon. Now, the next one, the greater bilby, kind of an unusual one. A lot of people aren't too familiar with it. It's a nocturnal omnivore. It's native to Australia. It's a member of a group of ground-dwelling marsupials that are known as bandicoots. Bilbies have long pointed snouts and very compact bodies. They measure between 29 and 55 centimeters in length. They do differ from other bandicoots by their larger ears. They have very long silky fur and much longer tails. They're known to be remarkable burrowers. They use their strong forelimbs and claws to build extensive and complex tunnels. They use their long, slender tongues to eat a specialized diet of seeds, insects, various bulbs and fruit, and even fungi. They're active at night, and they shelter in their burrows during the day. They used to be common throughout Australia, but now they only occur in isolated colonies in the Northern Territory. They are listed as vulnerable, and the latest estimate said there was only about 9,000 mature individuals remaining, a population that is thought to be decreasing. The threats that these animals face is habitat loss and change, and competition with invasive and non-native species, mostly rabbits and foxes. The third one in this group, the ring-tailed lemur, is a very large primate and most recognized lemur due to its long black and white ring tail. Like all lemurs, it is endemic to the island of Madagascar. The ring-tailed lemurs dwell in the high, sparsely vegetated, rocky regions. They live in groups. They mark out the boundary of their territory using their tail to spread a secretion from a gland located under their forearm. They're active during the day. They like sunlight. They're very good leapers from branch to branch. Their diet consists of leaves, flowers, and insects, as well as fruit, herbs, and small vertebrates. The body fur is very dense, and you can tell the coloring from the photo. The black ringtail is clearly visible, and the face is kind of gray and white with the white ears. Lemurs are the most endangered mammal group in the world. It's listed as in danger because it faces threats stemming from habitat alteration as a result of increased agricultural activities, logging, wood harvesting, and hunting of terrestrial animals within its range. It's also threatened due to the effects of climate change, including drought and other severe weather phenomena. The plant here in this group is commonly known as the grand spider orchid, and it's endemic to southwest of the state of western Australia rather, and it occurs in areas of mixed woodland. The giant spider orchid in Australia grows up to 60 centimeters tall. It has a single erect pale green hairy leaf and one or two, and very rarely three, predominantly pale greenish cream flowers that can measure 7 to 10 centimeters across. It does not have an odor like most flowers. The plant itself has long fine hairs or split fringes that can extend well above the column of the plant itself. The main threat that is affecting the endangerment of this particular plant is urban development, degraded habitat, weed invasion, roadworks, fires, and recreational activities, and people dumping rubbish in their habitat area. This last group of stamps consists of, in the top left, the orange-bellied parrot. The top right is a Babirusa. In the second row on the left, first is the bridled nail-tailed wallaby. And then in finally, the bottom right, not sure of the pronunciation here, is the telepogon-like lepanthes. So let's take a closer look at these four. The orange-bellied parrot is a small and stocky ground-dwelling parrot. It lives in southern Australia. The males are bright grass green head on the head, back, and most of the wings, fading to a yellowish green on the rest of the body. The belly typically has a bright orange patch and a deep blue band between the eyes. The males have bright blue on the bend of the wings. The females are a bit duller in color with less blue and have a smaller orange patch on the belly. The orange-bellied parrots breed in southwestern Tasmania. They migrate in winter, in the autumn, to the Australian mainland on the coasts of the southern states of South Australia and Victoria. They spend most of their winters within close proximity to the coastline in their coastal habitats. The bird is listed as critically endangered. Threats to this species include encroachment on their habitats for urban or industrial development, invasive species, and catastrophic events linked to climate change such as drought and brush fires. The Babirusa is a wild pig-like animal native to the Indonesian island of Baru and the Sula Islands of Manggol and Talibu. It's relatively long-legged pig. It has a long snout, a long and thin tail. In males and some females, the upturned, curved upper canines will grow through the skin, which is gray or brownish in color. The species can reach up to 110 centimeters in head and body length and weigh as much as 100 kilograms. The animal is omnivorous. They inhabit moist, swampy forests or lush thickets in tropical rainforests. They prefer to live near bodies of water. They have been known to travel across wide rivers and even small seas to reach small islands. The animal is listed as vulnerable. It has been protected by Indonesian law since 1931, but their population is reportedly declining. The threats, again, most commonly here from human habitat encroachment, hunting for terrestrial animals, and the effects of logging, wood harvesting, and the presence of various invasive non-native species. The bridled nail-tailed wallaby is a small wallaby, gray and light tan in color and distinctive white lines that form the bridle from the back of the neck to behind the forelimbs and along the sides of the face. Adult males can be 5 to 8 kilograms, females maybe 2 to 6 kilograms. They're usually solitary animals. They're inactive during the day. Most of their movement is maintained to just keeping their position in the shades of bushes. Adults often rest and shelter in hollow logs or under young trees. They live in dense acacia shrubland and sometimes in grassy woodland. For 30 years, this animal was believed to be extinct as there were no confirmed sightings since 1937. But then in 1973, the species was, quote, rediscovered, end quote, in the state of Queensland in Australia. The current population in a national park, including its neighboring properties, is about 1,500 wallabies. The species is listed as vulnerable. The threats that contribute to its decline include intense hunting, habitat loss, drought, and fires. Of the orchids of this type of plant, this particular one inhabits cloud forests where the temperature is low and the humidity is very high. The name Lepanthes is derived from the Greek meaning a scale and a flower, which makes reference to the small scale-like flower characteristics of this particular plant. It's endemic to Colombia. It usually grows on trees in the cloud forest. It's usually found low within the canopy. The environment of the cloud forest is always very humid, wet, and shaded conditions. It can be found at elevations anywhere from 400 to 700 meters. The plant produces large, flat, umbrella-like flowers that can range in color from muddy orange to even clear orange. It blooms year-round. The flowers are not especially long-lasting, but they are produced in succession, so the plant is seldom without flowers. And again, it's environmental encroachment and illegal harvesting of the plant is what tends to make this plant vulnerable to loss of species. This United Nations collection of endangered species from 2021, I think, not only provides an excellent topical collection with very beautiful photographs and information about the plants and animals that are included in the collection. And again, every year the United Nations introduces another one of these collections. The booklet is highly recommended. I think the booklet is very colorful. I'll throw up a graphic here of the cover of the current one. And the pages internally, again, have a spot for each individual stamp, as well as information about the plant or animal in 3 different languages. And another graphic here is the back inside cover that shows all 12 of the species currently on the list. And I think this is one of the examples of why topical stamp collecting can not only be a fascinating individual hobby, showing quite beautiful stamps and related information about the subject, but it's highly educational. I think anyone interested in zoology or biology or just in endangered species and what's happening around the world to make some of these species struggle to even survive, topical collecting can be part of an educational curriculum almost to help inform people about what's happening to these various species. So again, this was episode 6. In the future, we'll have a new topic here coming up in a couple of weeks, probably. Maybe sooner than that, I'm not sure. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments if one of these species stood out for you, if you learned a lot about that species or had a particular fondness for that species. Other than that, thanks for viewing, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy collecting.